Right, joined in the studio, we have Maureen Rigg from the Fairtrade Association. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for taking your time out to come and be with us here on Ignition Radio this morning. Now, Fairtrade, it's global, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is. There are very few countries now that don't have at least a tiny bit of fair trade associated with them. But the UK is the leader. And within the UK, I'm proud to say the North East actually was a prime instigator of the whole ethos more than 2 decades ago.
Wow.
So, yes.
And of course, the fact is that it seems to be a fashionable thing now that quite a lot of the supermarkets, especially the big four, have got on board selling fair trade products. But I think, looking at my notes and doing my homework, I think the biggest supermarket that has really got stuck into the fair trade ideal is the cooperative.
The co-op is very good, and I think it's because the whole concept of cooperation is at the back of the fair trade movement as well, and so it fits very well with their ethos, and that's what we try to encourage the other supermarkets to follow, and some of them are better than others, shall we say.
Of course.
I'm not going to name names.
Of course, well, no. Well, you know, you can name names. Hey, why not? Why not? Well, that's what we're here for. Now, as you can hear, our telephone's going, and James should be answering it, but he isn't, so we'll just let it ring. Right. Now, Fairtrade started, when did it actually start?
20-something years ago. Sorry, I'm bad with numbers like that. The concept of some young people in the North East and developed from there. It's now benefiting, or best part of 1.5 million farmers and producers across the world. And of course, if you multiply that up by their families, by the people that they then spend their money with, you know, you're into a significant number of people who otherwise would be in dire poverty.
Yeah, and of course the fair trade is expanding all the time as far as its products are concerned. Yes,
you can now buy a Fairtrade gold wedding ring,
wow,
should you be so inclined, and bespoke jewellery made with Fairtrade and Fair Mind gold, which is, you know, a new concept. Palm oil is the latest biggish thing. So we have Fairtrade cleaning products and also used in cooking, because until I read about and heard about Fairtrade palm oil, I'd no idea of how many products it's in, everything from sort of toothpaste to licorice, all sorts, to biscuits to paints, and it's produced, an awful lot of it is produced unsustainably by demolishing chunks of rainforest. So to produce it sustainably and fairly is a big step forward.
That's it. Of course, you do hear the news stories, don't you? Like, is it a size of a football pitch every hour is being deforested?
Devastating. Absolutely devastating. Yeah. Whereas if it's grown, if the palm oil is grown in its traditional way, alongside other plants, then you have a sustainable income for a community. You've got no devastation to the forest. In fact, you've got improvement, because there's an encouragement and an incentive then to keep looking after the area.
Right. Now, of course, we met last Saturday in the International Food Market. And do you do that every time that there's an International Food Market comes to Stockton?
No, that's our first venture into that. Stockton decided this time that the farmers' market, as they call it, would be expanded to a mini food festival, and asked if we would like to take part. And we jumped at the chance, especially as it was inside a marquee and therefore not exposed to the elements. Which makes it a lot easier and pleasanter on the volunteers on the stall. We had a wonderful time, talked to lots of lovely people, sold some of our products, but importantly discussed the importance of shopping for fair trade marked products with lots and lots of people.
Because, of course, it's all about information and getting the message out to the people. People say, okay, fair trade products, they cost a little bit more. But because of that, it's helping farmers, suppliers in the third world countries. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Two elements to the financial side of fair trade. One is that the farmers or producers get a sustainable and well-planned, fair return on their work, their effort. So their costs are definitely covered and a bit over to live on. And that's negotiated with them, and it's based on the cost of production, not some arbitrary market price. And then secondly, they're encouraged to work together in cooperatives or communities, because that makes it easier to export and to handle the international side of the business. And those communities get a premium every year, which it's up to them how they spend it to improve their community. So in the past, some of them have spent it on improving the road or buying a lorry or bikes to get to work, nutcrackers to improve the cashew nuts, schools, clinics, almost anything you can think of that might improve a community. But it's not us going and saying, we've decided you need a new school, so we're going to provide it. It's them thinking about what they really need. And I mean, you laugh, it sounds strange buying the nutcrackers, but that was the cashew nut producers in San Salvador who debated whether to buy more nutcrackers so that they could get more whole nuts, because if you crack the nut using a lump of rock in your hand, you don't often get a whole nut. Or should they send some of the young men to school, to higher school, until they were 16, 17?
Right.
And in the end, they opted for the nutcrackers, because that way, the following year, they'd have more money, and then they'd be able to send the youngsters to college.
Yeah, it's all about the independence, isn't it? To let the farmers and the suppliers choose what they decide to do with the money. And of course, they reinvest it in products and things that will benefit them.
Yes, and they're the ones who know what will benefit them. They don't need us to waltz in as Lady Bountiful and tell them. They know. They just need to get a fair deal, and then they can cope.
Right. Now, of course, you celebrate Fairtrade Fortnight in February.
We do, yes.
And what goes on? I mean, there's lots of events going across the UK and across the world as well.
Indeed. The UK theme for next year is Sit Down for Breakfast, Stand Up for Farmers, which is very appropriate because the farmers don't necessarily have to be only those in the third world. We have local farmers struggling, as we well know, with the price of milk, therefore the price of butter, etc., bread and so on. We can get local produce, but we can also get produce from our fair trade suppliers that we don't grow in this country. And, our coffee, our tea, our grapefruit, our a lot of fruits and a lot of other produce. So we're looking forward to people coming up with ideas of where we might have a breakfast where we can support both our fair trade farmers and our local farmers.
And of course, you look at fair trade products on the shelf, and all right, there are a couple of pence or perhaps a couple of 20 pence or whatever more. But when you look at the leading brands, they're actually cheaper.
Some of them are, yes. And it's particularly those commodities that have been on the market under the fair trade mark for a long time, like coffee and tea. They've had plenty of opportunity to build up the necessary infrastructure. The ones that tend to cost quite a bit more are those where the leading brands are still very much exploiting the producers and we go in and say, no, there's a fair price to be paid for this, and it's significantly more than you're paying at the moment.
Right. And of course, fair trade, there was taste tests, and they say that fair trade products are actually better in taste and quality than some of the leading brands.
Some. I think there are differences, obviously. There are hundreds of different fair trade coffees and teas, for example, and everybody has their own favourite coffee or tea and would find it very hard to agree that something else tasted better. But if you're just looking for an average thing, I would say that there is nothing to choose, and with fair trade you get that glow of the fact that you're helping other people as well. So it doesn't only taste good, it does good.
It gives you a good feeling that you're actually benefiting somebody in a third world country and helping them. Now, events, of course, you go around the Teesside area with lots of events?
We're based in Stockton, but there are similar groups in Middlesbrough and Hartlepool. So yes, we do events. We have one coming up on Saturday, tomorrow.
Right.
Anybody who would like to come along to All Saints Church in Preston, which is on the number 7 bus route, just on Yarm Road, that will have a preview of the full Christmas range of goodies. So anybody that wants to start their Christmas shopping early, we'd encourage you to come along. It will also have a little mini cafe going on. So if you've not tasted fair trade tea or coffee and you think, going and buying an entire jar or packet is a bit expensive if I don't like it, well, come along and try it. Would be an idea on that one. And we'll have, with a bit of luck, if I get my act together, some homemade cakes.
Oh, yes.
Because I know there are some people baking, but I need to go home and do it as well.
It's very busy for you, isn't it? Very busy
it is.
Time.
Yeah. Yes.
And of course, as you said, just mentioned Christmas. Do you find that fair trade gets more busier when it comes up to the festive season?
There's an element of the range that does, of course, because gifts are always more popular at Christmas than any other time of the year. And so usually we have a wonderful person in Stockton, Jenny Medhurst, who tries to take on a shop in Middlesbrough and run it in the 4 to 6 weeks leading up to Christmas, so that people can go in and see the amazing range of goodies that they can get. But you can also shop online and from various churches and groups around the area. So
that's what's it all about. Of course, everybody interacting together for a very good and worthy cause, of course. So, again, talking about Christmas, I mean, do Fairtrade, do they do little hampers as well of their goods?
There are some ready-made up, yes. Our brilliant North East company, Tradecraft, do ones with things like jams and marmalades or coffees and chocolates, that kind of thing. But it's also possible to do your own by buying a Fairtrade basket and then filling it with Fairtrade goodies.
Of course, this is it. And Fairtrade, of course, they are very responsible in sustainable resources. Absolutely.
There's a very strong encouragement to producers to do it all sustainably, because there is absolutely no point in helping this generation to develop and have a good life if by doing that they're destroying the earth for the next generation.
Exactly.
So yes, they look at traditional methods, because very often traditional farming methods are very sustainable. It's when you try to do more and more of them that you start straining the system. So building on those traditional methods, but ensuring that people can, in fact, produce enough to make it worthwhile exporting overseas.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact is that, as I said before, Maureen, it is a truly global community, isn't it? I mean, people have to think that we all live in one world, and the fact that we've got to help each other. And, you know, even though there is third world poverty, we can do so much, especially through fair trade, that can help them.
We can. And it's helping us as well, because it's not just a one-way thing. As you say rightly, it's global. And knowing the producers almost personally, because it's easy to find out just on the website or by asking people who sell fair trade goods in small groups. I'm not suggesting you ask the supermarket manager. They have stories from producers. I was really lucky a few years ago to be able to host a cashew nut producer, which is where I got the story about the nutcrackers from, overnight, because he was touring the country giving talks on how cashew nuts were produced. Fascinating. And because I know him, now when I buy a pack of those nuts, I'm thinking, yes, this is helping Juan Luis and all his family and friends. Now, that's not something that I can do if I just buy a pack of, you know, the leading brand nuts. Yeah. I don't know where they came from or who produced them. Yeah. And I'm really lucky in a week or so's time, I'm off to visit some of the producers myself in South Africa, which is an amazing privilege to me to be able to go and meet the people who produce the raisins, you know, that go in the bags that I then sell. That sort of personal link is fantastic. It's
absolutely fantastic. And of course, the fact is that you're seeing firsthand on how fair trade benefits farmers.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I think we're very much hoping, if all your listeners would just cross their fingers for the next month or two, we are hoping to be able to have a producer come to Teesside, possibly Stockton, in Fairtrade Fortnight next year to talk about how they manage and what they grow and what the benefits of selling under the fair trade mark are to them. Right. So
should be good.
It will be, yes, fantastic, really good. Yeah. In the past we had a banana grower, right, who launched our campaign to get Stockton as a fair trade town. We've had the cashew nut producer, so we're fingers crossed and toes and everything that we'll get one. The Fairtrade Foundation bring one or two over every year, but of course it's a big country and they're only here for 2 weeks.
They're touring as well, aren't they?
Yes, there's a lot of competition to get them. So
now, just going back to your event tomorrow, what time does it start and what time does it finish?
Right, it starts at 10, it finishes at 1, drop in at any time. There's full wheelchair access, so that's not a problem. The church is set up for full disabled access. So very happy to see anybody, whether you spend 10 pence or £100, we don't mind. Just come along and be part of it.
I think it's that phrase, and I won't tell you which supermarket, but it's a phrase of every little helps.
Yes, it does. And even if you just come and have a coffee and a slice of cake and a sit down and a chat about it and find out more about fair trade, we'll be happy to see you.
And of course, it's something as simple as just sitting down, talking to people, having, as you said, that slice of cake, that cup of tea, that helps fair trade people.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Well, I can honestly say, Maureen, thank you ever so much for coming in and spending time with us. I could talk about it all day, especially the food element, because when I saw you in the town on the Saturday, and I thought, and again, it's my curiosity that really, I go up to people, and just to meet you, and of course, all you guys as well, busily, volunteers.
Yes, all volunteers, yes.
And of course, when the old slice of cake came out and you were giving the old samples, I thought, shall I, shan't I? And I resisted on this occasion. Might not actually, because I will be up tomorrow to have a look at the event as well. And again, where is that?
That's at All Saints Church on, it's officially on Dunnottar Avenue in Eagles Cliff, but it's accessible from Yarm Road if you come on the number 7 bus. If you come on the train, come out of the station and turn left along the road, you can't miss it. Right.
And of course, one thing I do get a bit guilty about, Maureen, is firing questions. But do you have a website?
We have one under development.
Right.
But we do have a Facebook page.
Please.
So if people just look for Stockton Fairtrade Borough on Facebook, they'll find us.
And of course, your website will be coming up very shortly.
And the website will be coming up, yes.
That's a great thing about social media. Yeah. It opens up so many doors. And of course, social media is the big thing at the moment that people are into. And of course, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the other type of social media. Maureen, I could go on all day. We could talk about this all day, honestly. But thank you ever so much for taking time out and coming into Ignition Radio. Good luck with the event tomorrow and with your future events and, of course, fair trade in general. I'd say it's a fantastic group. It really is a fantastic group.
Thank you very much for asking me in, and I'll let you know when there are other events that we'd like publicised.
Please do. As I say to all the people who come in, charity or otherwise, that our doors are always open.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret.